Hello again, everyone. I have something a little bit even more different. On the phone, I have one of my subscribers to the channel who wanted to make a video with her on the phone. Um, and this is off of a PayPal contribution, which I appreciate. And it's not contingent on that in any way, but it's a good idea, and we get right to it. And who I'm talking to right now is Lacy. How are you, Lacy?
I'm hanging in there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So what's up? What's your story?
Okay. Well, um, I, unlike others, have no excuse because I was an adult. I was raised. I had a decent childhood, a good childhood, not a great childhood. But so I chose to be with my narcissist. So I really don't, have an excuse. So it is my fault.
What do you mean by you don't have an excuse? An excuse for what?
Well, because I chose to be with him, whereas if you're born into it, you have no choice.
Listen, the first thing I'm going to tell you is you need to stop with the self blame of how you got here. Okay? Narcissistic abusers are very manipulative and they're very good to suck you in. So to sit here right off the bat and blame yourself, you're not doing yourself any good. Okay, there is no blame here. The blame is always on the abuser, not how you got here. It's not whether or not you were abused as a child or abused later on. There's no excuse for abuse, and you never blame yourself for that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I watch your videos, and I know that's true, and thankfully I've been able to try and accept that, and remind myself that. But you have, I had two children very young, and I had married my high school sweetheart, and we had two kids, and it didn't work out. Not because he was bad, nor me. We just were young, we thought we knew everything, and we were just too young. So even though it didn't work out, we didn't hate each other, and nobody tried to hurt each other intentionally, or I don't know. But the way I grew up, I didn't. I know this sounds very stupid and very naive, and believe me, I realize what I'm fixing to say really does sound naive. But I never in my life ever knew people would plot and plan and systematically choose and make a plan to destroy you. Um, my family wasn't perfect. We fought. In fact, we have knocked down dragouts, but 10 minutes later we were baking a cake or making some cookies or going to you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you had
We
it
got
out.
mad at each other.
You
You
had it
know?
out, and then it was over with. So you grew up
Yeah.
in a fairly normal family. And
Yeah.
how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah. 44.
You're 44, so you're older than me. So you're a Gen Xer like me. And
Yeah.
look, when
I
we
just
grew
wanted
up,
to
we
be
grew
like,
up.
on my birthday just passed.
Yeah, mine too on Sunday. Happy birthday.
Yeah, I know. Happy birthday.
What you got to understand is when you think about how we grew up and how the world was presented to us, like, there was right and wrong and good and evil, that's what you believe. So when you get caught up in narcissism, which is so manipulative, it goes against every grain of what we've been taught about people, about the world, about social interaction. So obviously, your first reaction is going to be, must be me. This is something I'm doing. This is my fault.
Well, and I can fix it. I can fix it.
Or you could fix the abuser. Well, that's the other excuse we always make. If we just do this or just do that, if we just love enough, if we just give in, there that you can fix it, you can fix the situation, and you just can't.
Yeah. know, like I said, my family was not perfect. We did have my town drag out. But, you get over it because you still love each other. And you may say things you don't mean, but it's because you're angry, not because you're manipulating somebody. And so my family, when this started happening, and I met this man at work after I got a divorce. My kids were, Jack was like a year old, and Brett was 4. And I met him, and he was having a hard time because supposedly, I know this all to be a lie now, of course, but supposedly his wife was cheating on him and beating him and hitting him, and she was bad to the kids and all of these things. And, I was raised in church Baptist. I don't expect other people to believe like I do. That's, what I'm saying? Totally, I'm not judgmental about that at all. But I'm just saying it because it's the way, that I was brought up. And so when this guy is saying all these things to me, I'm wanting to help him. And I'm like, well, how often do you do this? Or pick the kids up from the daycare, just to give her a break or whatever. Anyway, bottom line is I helped him out, supposedly. I had no interest in him. Totally not my type. At all. And I was engaged to a man that loved me very much. Very, very much. And that I loved very much. And, he tried to tell me, this guy's in love with you. You're just not seeing it. I know you think that you're friends, but sweetie, it's because you're very tired of you. And, but thankfully, my fiance was a wonderful man. I mean, never made me feel insecure. Never. I can't even explain it because I'm not I'm not great at relationships either. I have faults. And long story short, so this man was my best friend, well, a friend, and then I my fiance, and things fell apart with my fiance slowly but surely. I ended up a year later marrying the friend. 4 years after I married him, and those 4 years were horrible, by the way. I couldn't go anywhere, do anything. If I put makeup on, then I was a whore. I had a great career, and when I say great career, I was blessed more than anyone, even way more than I deserved. I'm very thankful for my life back then. I had a great career. I was making way more than my friends who had even graduated from college.
Right.
But then this man did not want me to work because, according to him, the only married women that work are whores because they're there to fuck around. I'm sorry. I forgot. Sorry. And he had 2 kids, and I had 2 kids, and so I agreed to quit my career.
For a man.
Yeah. So, even though I made more than he did. And when I married him, he was $350,000 in debt. And, I didn't care about any of that. Because I've always made my own money, always taken care of my own children, had my daughter at 18, barely, and my son at 20. And so then we had custody of his kids, and I raised them too. Well, he ended up selling his company, got a job at a car dealership, started being a car salesman, and then he never came home. And he started doing drugs very heavily.
What, meth, cocaine?
Meth and, ecstasy and methamphetamine and some powder stuff he ordered off the internet. I really don't know. Actually, I do know what it was called.
DMT?
I don't know what the heck that is, but that's what the thingy said.
What did it say?
5, as in the number 5, MEO, 5 me dip is what it says. I don't.
Yeah, it's some kind of bath salt. That's what that is. It's like, yeah.
And he had this website where people went on there. I think it's called Airwood, and they talked to each other, and he made a profile and a dating profile, just all these things I would find out. But then one day I was downstairs in our garage, and after he had started working at the dealership, he started making good money immediately. And I know this is going to sound bad, but I have to be honest. Just can't help me if I don't. I was a recruiter. That's what I did. I worked for Bell Atlantic, and I was a technical recruiter and account manager. And I traveled a lot of business and all of those things. That was my job. So when he had to sell the company, I was a recruiter. So I thought, well, the thing he's best at is lying. So I told him he should go sell cars. And even though that sounds mean or funny or whatever, it's actually true.
No, it is true. Yeah, all salesmen are liars to some extent or another. So if you're a good liar, and you can lie to people, you make a great car salesman.
And he did right away. Right away.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say right away, I mean right away. We were doing really well. So I set out, I fixed his credit by adding him to all my credit stuff. I bought us a new home. Just everything. Everything. When I was brought up, well, you're my generation. I was brought up where, you cook and you clean and you do what you want. That's what you do. You make things right. You take care of your family.
Right.
And since I didn't have a career anymore, which I'm not going to lie, made me very sad, but I knew I felt like I wouldn't have, if he had me convinced, and I know this isn't true, by the way, anyone who's listening, I know this is not true, but he had me believing that if I was to go back to work and then I'd become my children, that just really killed me because I felt my fault. And I felt, and again, this isn't about non-working mothers either, but for me personally, I just felt like I wasn't contributing to society. Which, of course, then again, he guilted me because, really, so you don't think being a mother is important, and there was always something. But the bottom line is, when he started doing the drugs, we had to vault a safe in the garage, and I was never allowed in it. But one day, he left it on the last number, and I knew something was going on. And there was a magazine in there that had porn, but it was I don't know what, but I'm going to be honest, I don't know what you call it, but it was girls with boobs with penises.
Oh, like transvestite porn? Yeah.
The only word I've ever, I'm going to be honest, you can bleep this out if you want later, I don't know. The only word I've heard people use is chicks with dicks.
Chicks with dicks, yeah. Yeah, it's tranny porn. So he's got some issues with his sexuality, clearly. He's always, what I found is people who do that, they always usually do get mixed up with drugs and alcohol. They're adrenaline junkies. They're looking for that next rush, and it's not even so much about being like what it is. It's that it's deviant, and that's what gives them the excitement out of it. It's not even so much that they're attracted to it, but it's the thrill they get out of doing it. You know what I mean? And a lot of that is brought on by the drugs. That's why somebody would start doing hard drugs out later in life and doing that sort of thing.
That totally makes sense. I mean, he did drugs when he was younger, too. I mean, this is a guy who definitely, I didn't say this, I'm sorry. He was 12 years older than me. Is 12 years older than me.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So he, always would tell me, because of course I, I had used drugs with him, and I'm just going to be honest, twice. And then I wouldn't, because I have pancreatitis. I have pancreatitis. And so all of a sudden, when I refused and I wouldn't drink all day, and, the drugs I was called a fun Nazi. You're a fun Nazi.
A fun Nazi, yeah.
When I would make him stop doing them, because I lived my life scared to death that he was going to die, and that, my kids or his, even worse would have been his, would find him dead the next morning when they get up for school in the living room. That's what I lived for 12 years straight. And I cried, I begged, I pleaded, I broke things. I found him cheating so many times, I can't even tell you. He programmed every girl's number in the book that he was trying to get with under my name. My name, on his phone.
Right.
And I would go to his work, and his wedding ring would be in the truck, so it was really obvious he was cheating.
Right.
And I went and watched my parents' house for a week towards the end of it. It's starting at the end now. And my stepdaughter called me, and she said, "You need to come home." And I said, "What's wrong?" And she said, "I need to do my homework, and I can't get my dad's porn off the computer." And I'm like, "Well, I'll be right there," because I already knew.
Right.
And she told me that he went and took the girls have really big pool closets. They could even put a bed in their closet. And so I put black lights in there and stuff for them. They were little teenagers. They thought that stuff was cool. So, he went upstairs and took the black lights, put them in his room with the mirrors and everything else. And I came home. He had the black lights all in the closet. There was drug paraphernalia everywhere. There was porn on the computer there. And I wanted to die.
I understand.
I wanted to die.
I think you're missing something here, though. And I'll tell you what it is. You mentioned earlier how his credit was a mess. He was in another marriage, right? And he started doing these drugs later in life. But I think he's had these problems for years. I mean, how did his credit and all his debt happen? I mean, that's usually a red flag of somebody with addiction and drug problems. And what it sounds like to me is he ruined his first marriage and his credit, cleaned up his act long enough to find you and get you to fall in love with him and marry him. And then as soon as he got his narcissistic supply back, which is what he needed, and his support, he went right back to old tricks. See, sounds like this is who he was from the beginning. Okay? And you caught him in his, in his honeymoon phase, where now he's not going to find another wife to lose, somebody who has a good job, a career, making money, somebody capable of giving him a home and a new family and taking care of his old family and cleaning up his credit and his past problems. He isn't finding that if he's still doing meth and looking at tranny porn. So narcissists do know what they're doing. So he knew he had to clean up his act long enough to suck you in. And once he was comfortable enough and felt he was good and he had you under his control, got you to quit your job, leave your career, and made you basically emotionally dependent on him. He knew he had you. And then it was right back to business as usual. This guy baited you, reeled you in, and that's what happened to you. You can't blame yourself for falling for this because he was prepping you for this. They put on their best faces just to suck you in. So you're being prepped for this, and you're somebody who was, has a career was a recruiter, knows what she's doing. He isn't getting you high on meth and under that addictive rush that he's on now, he needed to clean up his act first. This isn't your fault. You just got sucked in by an extreme narcissist and one who's addictive. And we all know addicts, drug addicts, alcoholics are the best liars of them all. Are the best liars of them all, which is what you clued in on, which is why you told him to go sell cars, because you knew he was such a liar. How do you think he got to be such a good liar? Because he's been lying about his addictions for years, years before you met him. You just got caught in a buzzsaw.
He had no friends of his own.
Right, because everybody who's ever probably cared about him rejected him, because that's what you have to do with that type of personality. You gotta reject it outright. You know, there were red flags there. If somebody has no friends, that's a pretty big red flag.
Huge now that I look back. But my question to you, mainly, and I think you're right on the money, except for with the credit, because he had good credit, and then his divorce ruined that. But he did all these same things too, that's fine.
Right.
Okay, so he did, which I'm sorry for. But my question to you is, I think it was 5 years into marriage. I don't remember what the conversation was about, but I'm like, why are you doing this, and I'm like, I mentioned my ex-fiance's name, and I'm like, he would have never treated me this way, and he goes, well, too bad. I played a better damn game than he did. I destroyed that shit. Don't you ever fucking forget it. And I was, I really have to say, to hear a man say that to somebody, and a man that you married, and he was sitting there bragging about purposely, intentionally, all of those things were set up, and he went into details on it, because I don't need to do that with you, because you get the point. And he said, I played a better game, and I looked at him, and I said, my life's not a game. My life's not a game.
Right.
And I died. Not physically, but I was gone. He thought it was the funniest thing ever.
No, I don't think so. I mean, you know why he does these things? Because he hates himself. And he views superiority, being able to steal somebody from somebody else, as his ultimate supply. This is a man who hates himself. That's why he abuses. So for him to take something from someone else, that's where he gets his supply from, because somewhere in his fucked up background, he feels he's owed something. He feels that he's been deprived of something, and he's gonna. There's not. Doesn't matter, Lacy. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how much you do for him. It's never enough. The more you do for him, the more he's gonna ask, "What else can I get out of her? What else can I get out of her? What else?" The supply is never filled. The narcissist supply tank is bottomless. So the more you fill it, the more you have to fill it. Because the more you fill that supply tank, the more it needs to be filled. Because it just gets bigger and bigger. What else can I get out of her? What else can I get out of her? What else can I get out of him? Who else can I take something from? Who else can I shove in there? Who else can I shove it in their face of how much better I am, how much of a better game player I am at it, and let you know what I'm doing, and there's not a damn thing you can do about it. That is a bottomless pit of narcissistic supply. And the more you try to fill it, the deeper the pit gets.
Do you think that any normal man, say taken out of that situation, if they made that statement to a female?
Would any man taken out of that situation, would he make that statement?
Yeah, would any normal man make that statement, saying, I played a better game than she did?
Not that he meant, not meaning it. listen, people in relationships can say horrible things to each other. You know that. But then it's
Absolutely.
over. He relished in it. He takes pride in it. He never apologized for it. He meant it. Like when you say something bad to somebody in the heat of the moment, you're having an argument, which is normal. Okay, and you say something terrible. You with somebody long enough, you're gonna say terrible things to each other on occasion. That
I
happens.
know. I
That's
know.
gonna happen. Okay, this is an escalating problem where he's slowly taken off the mask. He's slowly taken off the mask, and then once that mask is off, then you're really in for it. He meant every word he said to you. No normal individual. You say something like that to somebody you love, your wife, your child, no matter who it is. 3 minutes after you've said it, you should start to feel abhorrent that you said it and you're looking to apologize. I didn't mean it.
Oh
I'm
my God, I can't believe it. I'm so glad you said that because that's how I felt because I said, I mean, I couldn't cheat. And I'm so sorry for this guy. But I'm going to be honest, I was so messed up at the end. I literally prayed to God, I'm just going to be honest, that I could cheat just to hurt him how he has hurt me. But I couldn't. So it became this very vile, horrible, now just disgusting speaking person because it was all I had to try and hurt him back.
right, and that's what he wanted. Because
Yeah.
then he could turn around, look at the horrible things you're saying. You see, you see, you see. I mean, that's how narcissism works. They draw you in, they suck you in until you hit your breaking point. Because that's natural. As humans who get abused, and when we're intelligent and we can't take it anymore, and you can't vocalize or explain, or you're going to say horrible things, and that's what they're waiting for. And they say, see the horrible things you said? That's why I cheat on you. That's why I do drugs. That's why I do this. It's all an
That's exactly what
excuse.
he said. That's why I do drugs to sit there with you. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I do everything for you. I do everything for your kids and mine. And I never considered his kids his kids. No, no, no. I love them still to this day. I would die for them kids the same as I would for my own. And he totally destroyed them too. And even turned them against their own mothers.
Yeah, well, that's what they do. I mean, they're just the bottom. They don't care whose lives they destroy, as long as they're the ones who destroyed it. They don't care. And your type is the worst because it is one addiction after another, and it just keeps escalating and escalating and escalating because there is no fulfilling his supply. There is none. The more you give in, the more he's going to take from you, and the worse and worse it's going to get until you cut it off completely and totally. Are you divorced from him now? Are you separated from him now?
I divorced him 10 days before our 10th anniversary. He took a girl 30 years younger than him to Las Vegas. So, which is another reason that I feel guilty. I'm just going to tell the truth. I was only 22 when I met him and totally stupid. And, oh, God. I gotta say this because I want people to know the truth. I believed him. I was a kid.
You're
And
22. Listen, you're
he cheated
22
on
years
his
old.
wife. He came to Florida to visit me on business 10 days before his 10th wedding anniversary with his first wife. So he did it 2 marriages in a row at the exact same time.
Listen, you shouldn't even be allowed to get married before you're 30 because you don't know shit about shit. You don't know nothing about the world. Okay, especially, well, you're 22 in what, 1993, 1994? Something like that?
Yes.
I mean, come on. I mean, we're just coming in as a generation, we're just coming into our own. An older man steps in. And look, you were prime picking. I mean, at 22 years old to be taken in by how much older is it than you? 12 years?
Yes.
12 years older? I mean, that is.
But I
Look,
was raised better than that.
well, it's
I
not
did not
that. I mean,
believe
look,
that crap. Seriously. And at least when his wife contacted me, because of the kind of person I am, because she did. You know, she's like, if you're my husband's friend, I think it's good we get together and have a talk. And I'm like, okay, I'll meet you tonight. And that's exactly what I did. Because as embarrassing as this is, I realize some people don't understand this, but at the time, I really did believe that I was not naive because I was responsible. I was so confused being responsible and paying bills for being mature.
more responsible than most 22-year-olds. Lacy, you cannot, Lacy, listen, you have to stop. You have to get every thought of this is your fault so far out of your head that it's not even, like, 22 years old, a man that much older than you. I mean, and did you say he was your second, or you had a fiance, right?
Yeah, I was married to my kids' dad, but we were high school sweethearts. We got married, and he was in the Desert Storm thing was going on. He was in the Navy, and I was 17, and he wasn't. I mean, it just didn't work because we were young.
And that's way too. Did your parents try to stop you from getting married that young, or you were just off to do what you wanted, or were they supported it?
You know, I think that, you know, my mom support, you know, my mother was raised very poor.
Right.
You know, we weren't poor, but, I mean, we weren't wealthy either, but, you know, she was, when I think she was raised very poor, and she was also abused very, very badly and left in the hospital when she was 10 days old with whooping cough. Her mom dropped her off and abandoned her, and so she was adopted, and so she kind of always wanted us to be happy. You know,
Right.
whatever made us, you know,
You had a good relationship with your mom?
Uh-huh.
You have a good relationship with your mother?
I love my mother more than anything.
You know what? You know what I find. You know what I've noticed about kids who have been adopted is that all they have such a fear of abandonment and abandonment from their children that, you know, they're more easy to let their kids get married at a younger age just because so their kid will have somebody because there's such a fear of abandonment there, you know? So.
And they were, you know, very religious people, and, you know, my ex-husband was a good guy. So, I mean, you know what I'm saying? He's not a bad guy.
Yeah, you just got married too young.
Right.
Yeah, you don't have to make excuses for that. He was in the Navy. You said he was in the Navy?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it was a tough time. He was, you know, like you said, Desert Storm. There was a lot of stuff going on back then. Like, there's no excuses for that. I mean, getting married, I couldn't imagine getting married at 17. I mean, gee, if I think about the things I was doing at 17 and getting married, I mean, incredible. And then you meet up with this guy at 22 who's so much older than you and such a manipulator. And what were you, his third wife or second wife?
Second.
You were his second wife, and now he's with somebody 30 years younger than him?
Yes.
This guy's just a destroyer. That's what he is. That's what he's out to do. He's just a destroyer who preys on younger girls. That's what he is. That's what he does. It's not your fault, and it's not the fault of the girl he's with now.
Well, the difference now is that unlike his first wife, and I'm not putting myself down. On this, I'm not. I was just younger. But I have to be honest. When I read some of the things about narcissistic people in relationships, one of the things it says is that they always go and try and prey on somebody weaker than the person they had before because, you know, once you figure them out, they have no use for you anymore. And plus they're afraid that you're going to tell on them, right? So, and his first wife is, I haven't talked to her in a long time, but she was way stronger than I was back then.
Well, she was his age.
Go ahead.
Well, she was more his age. She was closer to age than him, right? As him, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So he didn't want that anymore. Okay, listen, he's a different generation than you are. Okay, as is the girl he's with now is a different generation than you. You think about this generation of kids now, how naive they are compared to us. You know, I mean, it's easy pickings for this guy. And in a couple of years, he'll be done with her. And, you see it all the time, especially where I live in South Florida. You'll see 20-year-olds with 60, 70-year-old men. And this is just this guy's MO now. Because, like you said, they will keep going for somebody weaker and weaker and weaker because he's left a bigger trail of destruction. So now he's got his first wife, his second wife, okay, who could go to his third wife and be like, watch out for this guy. Eventually he'll screw her over. So he'll have to find somebody weaker than her. So of course he's going to go young again, 18, 19 years old, when they don't know anything about the world.
Destiny met this girl too, about that age.
Yeah. He's online as it is. He has a problem with the online porn. So I'm sure he's trolling websites. He's on these dating sites. He's on these swinger sites. I'm sure he's probably talking her into doing things now that he couldn't talk you into. He certainly couldn't talk his first wife into because like I said, that supply pit gets deeper and deeper and deeper. And he has to keep going and finding more and more vulnerable women in order to fulfill it. He's just does he see his kids anymore?
All of our kids are grown now.
Okay.
My stepfather, well, yeah, he does. There's other stuff around that's a whole different story, but he's always, well, when I say he's always seen the kids, what I mean is I've always wanted to get the kids up and they stay with me on the weekends when he was gone. So we've always had the kids. When I divorced him in 2010, what had happened was I went without even seeing or speaking to him for 2 years, and I got really bad on money, and I really needed some money, and he owed me money, so like an idiot, I called him. He met me and gave me some money, and then, long story short, it doesn't even matter. Somehow he talked me into moving back in with him. When I did that, what I've not told you is he kept me sick. And when I say he kept me sick, he literally kept me sick. I didn't go into all that, but just, I go stay with my friend in California, it'd be fine, and come back. So I have pancreatitis, and anyway, I went back, and I knew right away I had made a mistake. I knew, and I even told him, look, he's like, I don't want you going from here to there and the other. I felt so bad. I love you. All these things, which, by the way, when we get off the phone, I'm going to send you what he sent me to move back in with him, because I would love your opinion on that. But I did like an idiot, and I knew right away. The minute I got in the apartment, I'm just very empathic. Now, I believe in God, and when I say empathic, I don't mean I know the future. It's nothing like that. I just feel very deeply. And
no, well, it's not even about no. Listen, look, your subconscious and your gut knows what the right and the wrong thing to do is here, but you got played by your own fears of being alone, of maybe trying to make it work because, like you said, you believe in God, and you wanted to make it work. You probably didn't want to have a second divorce or failed marriage. Okay, but you knew the second you walked in that door, this is not right. Why am I? You're telling yourself, okay, but not admitting to yourself, this is wrong. And like I've said on many of my videos, okay, immediately. Like once you try to break once you go no contact, and then you say, let me give it another shot. Immediately this is the wrong thing to do.
Please listen to what he's saying right now.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm going to tell you what, I was separated from this man for 2 years. Not one phone call. I was not upset when I went back. it got 5 billion times worse. Please listen to this man. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, look, like I said, this guy is a predator. When did you go back? Think about why you went back to him. You went back to him because he owed you money, because you needed it. You were in a bad spot. You're a wounded animal at that point. Prime picking now. You need him. Now you're going to him for something. Okay? So now he's viewing you as, oh, wow, I really got her now. She's desperate. After 2 years, she's breaking contact. She's engaged in contact now because she needs. And that's what he played off of, your need. He knew you needed, he knew you were vulnerable, and he sucked you back in. And the second you did it, you knew it was the wrong thing to do. But you couldn't admit it to yourself right there and then, you know?
You know, I was doing what you said earlier at the first phone call when you said, you know, that you think you could make it better, or, you know, I just thought maybe if I just don't say so much and don't complain.
Right. And who wants to, after breaking contact for that long and saying, I'm going to give it another shot, and then when you immediately get that feeling like, oh no, this is a mistake, I'm right back to where I started again. And that alone of, I have come so far in breaking away from them, and now how am I going to start this all over again, right back from the beginning again? Like, can I, and you think that you just can't walk out, that somehow you're going to be a bad person if you walk out at this point after you said you would move back in and give it another shot. And now it's running through your mind.
Run away. That's what you always do anyway. Go ahead, run away.
Right.
That's what you do.
Yep. Right.
That's what I was told.
But that's what you should have done. Because they will use the truth against you. The truth is you should have ran right away again. But they will say, because he knows you should have ran away. He knows he has no business being with a woman like you. He knows it. But you were vulnerable, and he's using it. And now he's using what the truth is, that you should have ran away from him, as a weapon against you. Now you're a bad person if you run against him. And the thought of having to start back at square one after all that time, and for when you think back of all the bullshit and all the courage and all the shit you put up with to finally break away from him, okay? And then the thought of having to start that process all over again is crippling, but you should have just done it, because it would have been done with in a week, in a month. You'd have gotten over it a lot sooner than you think. Because once you break it again and get away, you kick yourself in the ass and you say, Jesus Christ, why didn't I do this sooner? Why didn't I do this sooner? What the hell? And then you blame yourself, like, what the hell is wrong with me? Nothing, other than you've been abused.
That was why I wanted the phone call. Pick whatever you want to put up there, but the main point is that I promised everyone out there that what you just said is the absolute truth. And even though they will know it, but when they're going back, I was away 2 years, didn't talk to him one time. I'd already divorced him, lost my phone, everything I ever had. It doesn't change, and they're only asking you back for a reason. These people are not nice to you because of you. They have an agenda. And his way, he fell in love with some girl, supposedly, who, I guess, ever left him. So he moved me right in and used me to triangulate. And against her. And, and it was obvious from, I don't know, a couple weeks.
Right.
I'm embarrassed to admit this, but I'm going to tell the truth. It was obvious from a couple weeks after I moved in, and I stayed for 2 more years.
Wow. I'm sorry. It's not your fault, though, Lacy. It's not. You were vulnerable. He'd already taken everything out of you. He'd taken your job, your security, who you were as a person, as a woman. Okay, to the point where you had to go and ask him for what he should have given you to begin with, what you were owed, and he was able to use that, okay, to keep you sucked in for another 2 years. And he found an 18, 19-year-old anyway. Because they're always going to move on to a better, what they view as a better option.
I pulled my chest to my, I'm in the hospital. I was in there for way over a month. And he lost his job. And I pulled my central line, literally. My central line. I don't know if you know what those are.
No, I know.
But, okay. Yeah. I pulled it out myself so I could go out and work for my brother. Cleaning, he did restoration, so cleaning a burnt out house to pay our bills. And yet, he had nothing. And then, the minute he has something, it's just not worth it. And I want people to know that because they don't change. They don't flipping change, and they don't care. And now, the thing that made me ask you for this, session was I gave him everything now. I finally even let him have the storage. I just said, fine, have it. I gave him everything, and I mean my clothes, my boots, my everything. Right. And now he called my apartment because he's into this stupid gang stalking crap. And so everybody's complaining about my dog. And now he wants my dog that my daughter gave me. And, and she said, Mom, he's going to cause problems. You have to give him the dog. You have to give him the dog. And I'm like, because I'm living with my little girl. I say little, she's 26, but, and thank God I've had a chance to restore that relationship because I was not a good mother the last couple of years of my marriage. I was not. I wasn't present. I mean, I did everything for them, of course, but it wasn't meant to be present. You know what I mean?
Emotional. How could you be? I mean, you're trying to survive. So he's calling your apartment complex and saying what? Are you allowed to have dogs there? Is he reporting you for having a dog and you're not allowed to have one?
Well, kind of. And my daughter is a dog activist person, and yes, we have more dogs than we're supposed to. Not gonna lie, we do. But there's, he brought the dog over to let me visit my own dog, which, by the way, I did register, and I heard your video about the therapy dog, so I hate to say this, but my dog's a pit bull. So it's not a little yuck dog.
No, I understand.
It's scared of everything. The pit bull is scared of turtles, and I kid you not.
No, I know. I've known some very docile pit bulls. I know I have some friends with some very docile pit bulls. It's the owner, it's not the dog. Understand, those dog videos are not about the dogs. It's about the owners, not about the dogs. The dog is going to be as good or as bad as their owner.
Yeah, and I mean, when I tell you, I know this sounds stupid, but believe me when I tell you, I've never been a dog. I've always liked dogs, but if you would have asked me 10 years ago if I'd ever let dogs sleep in bed with me, I would have said you were crazy and there was something wrong with you.
Right.
Now, this little boy is everything to me.
So that's the dog. So that's your favorite dog, and that's the dog he's trying to get from you.
No, he's my only dog, and I gave my ex everything else. Everything else. This dog my daughter gave to me. My daughter gave this dog to me.
Okay.
And I'm not CPTSD, and I'm fine. I mean, but yeah. So now,
Can you move somewhere where the dog isn't an issue? Can you move to a different complex where you can have a dog?
I'm not right now.
It's a financial thing? You can't afford.
Yes. Yeah.
Have you considered?
He totally, he can afford it, and I'm surprised you probably have. You probably just don't know it, but I can guarantee right now there will be a time that there will be some kind of something written to you or something, because anytime I find any place on the internet or any kind of help, Because, like I said, my family was normal, so they don't get this. They don't understand it at all. In fact, if you have any idea how much they don't understand it, it's like they don't.
Well, listen, if you're worried about him contacting me, I would suggest you find the video on when the narcissist strikes back, and you'll see how I deal with when the abuser tries to turn it on me, because I've had that happen. So don't worry about that.
No, because I can guarantee you, I listened to what he did. You know, he always takes me in the house, videos. There was videos and everything going 24 hours a day. And when I found this stuff, I'm sitting there thinking, oh my God, you know, when you're home alone, I don't know what you do, but girls are silly. We dance, we sing, we act like a fool. You know what I'm saying?
Right, right.
And, you know, and at the end, I said horrible things to him. Things.
You have every right. Listen, you have.
Dated is on my Facebook, and they're married now, and they're fine. You won't see that with his Facebook. Okay, I've never ever called anybody, and I mean anybody, let alone a man. I was raised to. Please don't take this wrong, anybody. Please, I don't expect people to believe the way I do, but I was raised that a man is a leader of the house.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say leader, I don't mean, oh, I'm the boss.
No, I understand. It's you believe in a traditional husband-wife type of deal, where the man is kind of the king of the castle, the woman's the homemaker, the queen, whatever you want to call it. But you don't need to make excuses for that. You haven't done anything wrong. You've been abused. And the problem is, when you've been abused for so long by such a good abuser and such a manipulative narcissist, you think you got to make excuses you think you got to explain every aspect of everything that you do. Meanwhile, anybody who would criticize you hasn't walked in your shoes, hasn't lived your life, hasn't lived it, which is why this type of abuse is so difficult to explain to anybody. Because people who have normal relationships, come from normal families, normal loving relationships, they don't understand this because they haven't experienced it. They can't believe that people would be this manipulative and this evil and this calculating. Which is why I'm glad you called, which is why I'm glad people are listening to this. Because look, I mean, their channel's bigger than mine. I got 6,000 subscribers. There's bigger ones. And the thing, since I started reading everybody's emails and letters, everybody can hear certain parts of their own life, if not complete parts of their own life, in everybody's letters. Things that we all thought we suffered alone with, that we couldn't explain, that we thought it was us, that we were the only ones going through this, and we're not. We're not at all. So you got to get yourself to the point where you believe that, you know what, this happened to me. This is real, okay? And some people are just not going to understand it because they haven't lived it. And you're going to have to be able to accept that. And if you can explain it to people and they're not going to accept it, then move on. Then they're not worth having in your life.
That's what I needed to know too, is what you thought about. You know, what do you do when there's other people who that person is also screwed over, and yet somehow, some way, they still are a slave to that person as well. I mean, to the abuser as well.
Well, I'm sure he's very good at making himself look like the victim, how it's not his fault. You know, it's this, it's that, it's the drugs, it's the alcohol, it's not really who he is. It is who he is, because the root cause of all of this is his narcissistic behavior. And until somebody addresses his behavior and makes him take responsibility for his own behavior, you know, what's the point? Because people don't want to believe that there are evil people like this in this world. They don't want to believe it. They want to blame it on something else. Somebody screwed him over. Lacy screwed him over. She was a bad wife. He was abused as a child. He got mixed up with drugs. It was the pressure from his job. It was his first wife screwed him up. It's bullshit. The root cause of all this is his narcissism, period. And until he deals with why he wants to manipulate and hurt and control people, okay, and uses addictions to hurt and control people, why keep him or anybody who would associate with somebody like that in your life? Because they're only going to keep you down.
Why do people believe that?
Because they want to.
My last question: why do people believe these people when they tell the truth, but yet switch the roles? Like he actually did tell some of the truth, but he said that I was the one that did some of these things, and I'm like, oh my God! And I was called a whore by a girl for the first time in my life.
Because he's planting. So look, they'll tell the truth, but they'll sprinkle in these selective seeds of lies, and those seeds are where the motivation comes from, that they plant in these enablers' heads to give them a pass. Do you understand? So you're a whore. This is all because Lacy's a whore. That's what caused all this. So he could tell the truth about all his fucked up behavior and everything he's done. But he plants these seeds of, oh, well, Lacy might have been, and they're not true. Whether he said Lacy's talking to other men, or Lacy did this, or Lacy did that. That's why they believe it, because they're making it easier, okay, to blame you than to blame him. So that way he doesn't have to take responsibility and they don't have to hold him accountable. And now you're sick, you're upset, and they could basically pass you off as crazy.
Advertising on the internet under drug rehab, under drug sites and all of that, dating games, and he was lying about his age.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody going on all of them. And so when I got to Match.com, I found one that I thought was him. And you have to join to see everything. So I'm like, fine, I'll join, right? My best friend's there, who's since I was 14 years old. I'm 44. And so I go on there, I join, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to use that credit card because that one's paperless. And I don't want, to get the hell of ever being accused of anything wrong, right? And so I used the credit card that was paper billing that went to a mailbox that he never would let me have the key to. So I did that intentionally. That way, you know what I'm saying? It was like saying, yeah, okay, you get what I'm saying?
No, I understand.
Yeah. Obviously, I took the only credit card that there's a damn paper bill, and you're the only one who can check the mail. So I did that, and thinking that was, I hate me, thinking that would put me in the clear, as far as, here I am checking on him cheating, and I'm more concerned about what everybody's going to think of me.
Right.
It's bullshit in the first place, but he went and showed everybody this bill on Match.com.
Right.
Our address.
That's the seeds. But that's the seeds I'm talking about.
Lockbox, so he has the key to, only him. He didn't tell anybody that, oh, by the way, she is the only credit card that comes in a paper bill that goes to a mailbox that I have the key to. Right,
because he's an abuser, but he's not going to say, because I abused Lacy so bad, and I'm a lying, cheating scumbag, she's trying to, you shouldn't have hit it. She's like, you goddamn right I used it. Because he's the one on Match.com looking for young girls.
That's why I did it, because I was looking for him. Remember? That's what it said. Yeah, that's exactly what I did. I found his name, lying about his age, on an ecstasy website for a dating site. So I went on the other dating site, and I found his name again on Match.com. So I joined it because you have to do that to see, all the crap. So, but I intentionally used the credit card that only comes to a mailbox that he has only the key to. And so he doesn't tell people that part. He's not like, oh, you know what? All of our credit cards are paperless. Except for this one that she used. If it goes to a mailbox, that only I have the flipping key to.
Exactly. But that's what I'm talking about. That's the seed. That's the lying. That's the lie seed that he plants with the enablers to make it look like you're the problem. I'm sure he didn't explain that he was on there, looking for tail, playing off like he was younger. No, he doesn't say that. He just goes around showing the credit card statement that you're on Match.com, and hence you're sabotaged. Now, who wants to sit there? Anybody who would listen to him at this point and can't see through his bullshit is too stupid for you to be friends with anyway. This is why you need to cut out any involvement with him. Why does he even have a key to your mailbox anymore? Does he still?
No, this is before the divorce.
This is before. All right, this is before.
Yeah.
But look, now you know. But that's what he's going to do. And he's always going to look for these seeds that he can plant in these enablers' heads to make it look like, the hate tree for Lacy to grow. Stay away from him, which I think you're doing, but stay away from anybody who has contact with them whatsoever. They're not worth it. He's a drug addict who likes chicks with dicks. Who'd want to hang out with a guy like that? That says more about the enabler than it does even about him. Wait a minute, you know all of this and you're still hanging out with him? He's on his third wife. He's going on his third wife, who's 19, and these aren't signals going off in your head. Why have them in your life? Why try to convince them of anything? Say goodbye. I don't care what you have to say, because you know what, Lacy, they're gonna badmouth you regardless of what you do. So why even sit there and give them the satisfaction of you trying to explain yourself to them and having them call you a whore and rejecting you anyway? Because that's what's going to happen. Who gives a shit at this point? Anybody who would have anything to do with this dude at this point is a friggin' loser that isn't worth your time, and certainly isn't worth the danger to your health, because pancreatitis, is tied a lot to stress. And I'm sure stress makes it a whole hell of a lot worse, does it not?
That's weird, because that's exactly what the doctor told him years ago. If he had told my doctor, well, she'll drink a beer, occasionally, and my doctor looked right at him and said, stress will kill her a lot quicker. I think he knew. I just don't think he wanted to say anything.
Okay. Anything else you want to say? Because we're over an hour already.
No, not at all. I'm good. I just want people to understand that what you said earlier was very important. Don't go back. Because it's not for the reasons that the abusers are saying. It's for no matter what they say, it's not. And I know people want to believe that it is. So believe me, especially when you come from a family that has no idea.
Right.
You can't even get angry with your family because you're like,
I understand.
You can't even understand it. You live with the person.
Yeah.
I just don't want anyone else to ever suffer.
I know. People, listen, the more people that do this and tell their stories, and I think this is great what you did. This takes a lot of courage what you did. And I really do appreciate your story and your courage. And, I am very humbled that you came to me. And, I'm not a therapist. I'm not a doctor. I'm just somebody who's dealt with a lot of this. So I do take it seriously,
It's a blessing. It's a blessing that you can speak like you do. Because believe me when I tell you, normally in my life before this, I've always been able to express myself very well. It does not work with these people.
You took everything from me. Look.
Being able to do that. So what you have, whatever that is amazing. And then your wife letting you share the story about her art and how she starts to be able to do that again. Absolutely changed my life.
Well, thank you. I'll be sure to let her know. Okay, hold the line. Hold the line.
Thank you so very, very much.
Okay, hold the line 1 second, Lacy.
Okay.
Uh, everybody, thank you for watching. Took Lacy a lot of courage to do this. Um, please comment in the comment boxes below. Um, any words of advice, I'm sure she'll appreciate. Thank you for watching so long. Thank you to Lacy for for believing enough in me, making a contribution to the channel as well. And remember, if you do enjoy this channel, please consider making a contribution to the PayPal link in the description box. And if you do want your story made into a video, you go right to the top of the list. And I think Lacy's on to something here by suggesting a phone call with me. It's something we could work out. Thanks for watching, everyone. This is Ollie Matthews. I'll see you all again shortly. Bye, everyone.